Welkom op de High-End München 2018. We staan in de kamer van Illusonic. En even voor onze kijkers, we gebruiken een Illusonic IAP8 voor metingen van luidsprekers en van hoofdtelefoons. Fantastisch apparaat, eigenlijk een soort Zwitsers zakmes, like a Swiss Army knife, the Illusonic IAP, because we use it for measurements, but it's actually not really built for measurements, but it can do a lot. This is Christof Faller. He's the inventor of the Illusonic IAP8. Can you tell us a little bit more about the brand first, before because I don't think all of our readers know Illusonic that well.
I mean, Illusonic I founded about 11 or 12 years ago. And previously, you know, I worked a lot in actually audio coding and psycho-acoustics. You know, one thing I did a lot on the project. It was called MP3 surround. It was a surround extension to the MP3 algorithm that was limited to stereo. I mean, that was at that point quite publicized everywhere, and I was lucky that my PhD work would go in this direction. But there I learned a lot about signal processing, multi-channel signal processing, because we were packing the 5 channels of surround into a 2 MP3 channels and added some side information, smart side information, what need to do to present to the ear that is going to distribute, I mean, firstly distribute the signals again in the 5 channels, but also that from the hearing perspective it sounds very similar to the original 5.1.
So it's psycho-acoustically stereo surround.
Yeah, and Illusonic, the motivation for the name was sonic illusion, because you have even take a normal stereo system, the phantom center is a sonic illusion. There's no source where you hear a source. No. So we wanted to indicate in this sonic illusion, in a way, you know, with psychoacoustics. Psychoacoustics is an important part to consider. I mean, not even explicitly only. I mean, you do a speaker by certain things you're doing, you influence the perception. So it's not only MP3 which puts noise where you don't hear it. It's not only this, it's also optimizing actually a good product without any goal of coding anything. You know?
But not a lot of brands here, even at High-End Munich, know that much about psychoacoustics. So what do you think the advantage is to know a lot about it?
I mean, in our example, for example, one feature our processor has, you know, it can present a stereo signal with a center channel. Yeah. And now this problem, how to do that, there are certain sub-problems. But the first problem is, when the listener is in the sweet spot, what does he hear as a phantom center? What is that signal? Yeah. And this question can only be answered knowing how psychoacoustics work. Exactly. Because, just an example, so people go, no, it's the phase, the delay, but that's too simple. Above 1.5, 2 kilohertz, when you play a 2 kilohertz tone, left, right, same level, it will be in the middle. Now you shift the right one in time, you give delay, you don't hear it. It stays in the middle because the hearing does not react on phase above between 1 and 2 kilohertz. That's one example. But now when you have a 2 kilohertz tone and you amplitude modulate it, you know, then you shift it by 1 millisecond, it will go to the one speaker. But at low frequencies, that works. No, but just as an example for psychoacoustics. So when we design our latest center algorithm, because in a mono studio mix, you can say, well, it's a in a clean studio mix, the center is mixed in as a mono signal. But now we have a classical recording, so there are 2 mics, they're not exactly the same. And now the question, what is in the phantom center? You have to go back to actually working like the hearing in terms of analysis, and that's our new algorithm. That's one reason why it's much better. Yeah. So now at high frequencies, we don't look, for example, at the correlation really of the signal, but we are actually looking, or at the delay, but we are looking actually at the delay of the envelope. As I said, when you have an amplitude modulation on the 2 kilohertz tone, that's where the hearing reacts above 1 or 2 kilohertz and above. And so that's where we're looking at to decide what signal components in the stereo is in the center. And then the second sub-problem is, of course, how to extract it. But since we did that, we have now a center channel, especially on classical music. It sounds up to Nyquist fullest. It sounds full range up to 20 kilohertz. In the old algorithm, even though it was already not bad, people said it was good, but when you listen to the center alone, it never had very high frequencies on a classical music. It always sounded a bit dull. I mean, but what we didn't put in center, we still put left and right, so it was not missing overall. But still, now the violin in center, it's going to sound up to 20 kilohertz since we did that, you know. And that's one example of a very complex psychoacoustic consideration, what I explained now, you know.
Yeah, the striking thing is, first, we already, at our visit in Switzerland, we called you the sound wizard. It's just incredible what you do and know about this stuff. But practically, this is the first system that actually sounds better processed than in full stereo. And that's most of the time it's like, yeah, stereo is better. And when you upsample it, it's worse. But this is something different.
You know, to do a demo is always easy. You know, you have some time. No, I mean, I'm not talking about making it sound better, but you make a spectacular demo. That's easy. Yeah. The difficulty, and also our algorithm, we worked already for 8 years. People were, in a way, saying it's great. But then maybe not fully sustainably, because when you listen over hours, you have very different types of music. So maybe you go, once in a while I need to switch it off, or you get a bad feeling from this. Yes, exactly. Because once in a while you need to switch it off, you have a bad feeling for it, you know. Yeah. But so indeed, it's extremely challenging to, indeed, because the hearing you can perceive. I mean, it's difficult making something, you listen to it, many types of music for 10 hours, and important is for extremely high quality product, you don't want to screw up once in a while. If every 2 hours it sounds bad for only 5 seconds, that's already not good, yeah. Of course, at some point you have a certain trade-off. Let's say a really very colored room, you do some room EQ, I mean, it gets amazingly, I would say, less colored, more. So you have a huge step. And if that huge step now you have to trade off with small damages you once in a while get, maybe there is a certain trade-off, you know. Yeah. So maybe switching off, I mean, that's a bit bluntly put, you know. But also what is interesting, you know, I'm not going too much to shows or, you know, and also I don't have hundreds of, you know, customers at the same time. But what I noted now the last half year since we improved the center, we improved everything. Indeed, people start to say it's better than stereo. Yeah. And even audiophiles, it's interesting. Here now at the show, it was the best reception we've ever had. We had a blind person coming here listening for 40 minutes. And then he said on his own, I didn't ask the question, because that's easier. I asked him, was it great? Saying yes is easier. But on his own, he said, I never heard something like this. You know?
That's a big compliment.
But without explaining what it was. Yeah. But that's the key.
He can't see it.
Because when I'm going, center, and center is better, and I explain him why it's better, that's totally different, because then you're making a rational thing. You go, I move, it's there. But this year we achieved that people come in, they realize it's different. Yeah. And without a word saying. So I don't have to explain this, it speaks for itself. And I mean, that was a big step. I mean, if we are at the point where it's a substantial, I mean, what means better is a very difficult question.
Well, it can also be different.
Yeah. But, you know, something like this is definitely a decade of work, you know. You cannot do this in 1 year, you know. And also that's maybe the difference between Illusonic and everyone else. We work on a decade on it, and not even a Dolby. They finished their project, now it's being sold for 20 years. We have every year here an updated algorithms, you know. Every year it sounds better without a new hardware.
But there is even a new feature you debuted here on High-End Munich. It's called Clarity.
Yeah, it's an interesting feature. I mean,
well, it's a weird thing. Yeah, it's pretty weird, but it's hard to explain. It's like something. Yeah, well, you can explain it better, I guess. It's just especially in the low end, it's like a cleanup.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, indeed. Maybe first let me say just what it does perceptually. Indeed, you know, on one hand, there's a room EQ, and we try to do a very good bass this year. We have 4 subwoofers here in a line array, you know. We did a room EQ, we treated the resonances, really done carefully, and I think it works as is linearly quite well, you know.
Well, if you switch it on, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, but I mean, room EQ, exactly. But so that's a good base already. I mean, considering the whole show, I think it's a really good base. But now with clarity, you know, you put it on, it's like the interaction with the room went away.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's like you put really bass absorbers. That's pretty amazing.
Well, you told it pretty funny. It's like you're using 4 or 8 AVAs from PSI, and we haven't reviewed them yet. We will, but it's kind of the same effect, to be honest.
Amazing. I'm myself amazed. I mean, I didn't expect it. You know, the feature I did in a way for a different purpose, you know.
What was its purpose then?
You know, it's a bit complicated. I mean, it's also an interesting topic, you know. It goes even actually back to a discussion with Markus Thomann. Do you know the loudspeaker builder that was just coming here? It goes back to several things. For example, it goes back to that when we worked on depth immersion and so on, these effects we saw before we add new reverb or effect, we have to de-reverberate because a cascade of reverb doesn't sound nice. And clarity brings now this idea further to the source. Before we only did it before the spatial kind of reverb. And now with the clarity, I mean, actually I started to say I want to do it after this discussion with Markus Thomann. He said, we played some sound really loud. And he said, yeah, this type of sound you can play very loud, it sounds always great. But then there's other type of sound you cannot play loud or it sounds really bad. You play it loud, you will sink in the reverb because the reverb comes up in the you know, you start to hear it, you know, because when it's too soft you don't hear it. So when you play sound louder, it's more reverberant. And when you have a recording which is too reverberant, it's a lot of classical recordings are like this, but also some older stuff because they had no other means to record dry recordings. When you listen them loudly, you have a cascade of reverb. And we noted for long already with depth immersion because we add a new kind of reverb that doesn't work, so we put that in. But now I put it, after this discussion, I put it a step further, very unorthodox. Well, actually, no. There's a problem there can be a problem of reverb cascade of your room and the reverb in the recording, and not only without depth immersion, you know? And so we started to implement this de-reverb. I mean, we have 8 years of experience in de-reverb from speech processing, so we have modules. But so I put that in, and essentially the idea was you have recordings, they're quite reverberant, and now in hi-fi, a lot of living rooms are living too much, it doesn't sound nice anymore. That was the idea of clarity, you know. And then I did the first version, and I was like, casually, it does something interesting on the bass. And then just one day before the show, I actually put it in the DSP that I tuned it for the bass. And the effect is amazing. I mean, I don't really know how to exactly explain it. I mean, it seems to be that resonances in the bass are most annoying on the reverb in the bass. Because when I put the reverb in the bass away, my room seems to stop resonate, you know? Amazing.
Yeah, it's an amazing effect. It's definitely better when it's on. It's like, more tight bass control.
Extremely tight. I mean, you would not expect it in a room like this, huh? It's like going away, yeah.
This is not an audiophile room at all, but it sounds pretty good. We talked about depth immersion, new clarity, and your work on Illusonic. We listened to it. It's one of the systems I prefer with processing as an audiophile, and I hope the readers accept that and don't say unsubscribe now, but it's really amazing what you do. What's behind?
Yeah, I mean, you know, why did we do this setup? I mean, you know, after several years of shows, you know, I noted one year, we showed actually, here we have a center channel as one speciality this year. I noted before I had the center channel not hidden, but then once in a while I took it away and I saw how people are different. And it was just, most people didn't even enter the room when there was a center channel, or they came in negatively. And so, I mean, there's two reasons why. That's one reason why we have this sound transparent wall where the speakers are behind. The second reason is also we'll use compact professional speakers from Genelec and subwoofers. I still wanted to get the sound of a huge loudspeaker. I mean, 4 subwoofers, 3 speakers.
Yeah, it's like a 3.4 setup.
And we simply wanted to give that sound. It's huge, it's clean. I mean, it's as huge as one of the hugest speakers here at the show. That was the goal. And then people look behind and they see what with technology is possible, because as you mentioned, our IAP is like a toolbox, like an army knife. And when you want to combine a subwoofer and speakers, or want to use a center channel, who does optimize that? You know, who can do that? And who has the tools for it? And IAP, in a way, is that toolbox to optimize almost no matter what hi-fi system you're using. You know, even surround, active crossover, etc. So we hid it because it doesn't look luxurious, the speakers, they're small. And interestingly, last year I did this wall the first time. I was not afraid. I was afraid people may be so negative that I have to put it in the car, frankly. No, frankly. So I made sure the system looks nice without it. Yeah. No, but then the opposite was the case. Very interesting. I mean, we managed already last year. I mean, luckily, I think we managed quite a good sound. So people were pleased on average when they came. And then they were positive. In the end, when they saw the stuff, which they would have not liked when they would have seen it right away, they stayed positive. That was very interesting.
I think it's the big contrast, because if you look at the show, there are systems 600, 700, 800,000 euros easily on this high-end show. And this is just so brutally different that they must be thought, what is this? But thank you for your time and your explanation, in-depth explanation of the Illusonic system, and have a great show.